You're listening to the Talk of the Suburbs, AM 1440 WNPV. Comment Please by Univest, the longest-running radio talk program in the Delaware Valley. Celebrating a half a century of service to Montgomery and Bucks counties. AM 1440. WNPV1440.com.
AM 1440, we're WNPV. This is our Wednesday, hump day, right in the middle of the week. Beautiful day. Hope you're enjoying it. Comment Please by Univest is the name of the program. Barry in for Daryl today. Nice to be with you. As I mentioned, we are 97 days from the election, and if you watch some news programs, I don't even know why we're having an election, because we know who's going to win, right? It seems like the deck is stacked. Got a chance to spend a couple minutes to what I will call a political mover and shaker, kind of a guy that's an insider, a political activist. He was written up over the weekend in the Philadelphia Inquirer. You've seen him on MSNBC, and he's a local guy named Jack Posobiec. Jack, welcome in. How are you today?
Barry, I'm awesome. It's good to hear you again, man. Long time no hear, I'll say.
Yeah, I know you disappeared for a while, but we'll get into that on another program. I know that you were a busy man there, but I should tell people
busy overseas doing some fun stuff.
Yeah, thank you for your service to our country. I should say that, and we'll leave it at that, because I know a lot of stuff you've done has been overseas. You've been a busy guy. Well, what I want to ask you first, for the benefit of the audience, you're a younger guy, 31 years old, right?
31.
You're a millennium. How did you get so interested in politics?
So the way I tell the story is, I'm a Temple guy. I'm an owl. And round about when I was in my first sort of like elective class in politics, I wasn't even going for politics at Temple. We started talking about issues at Temple. We started getting into some political stuff. And I started hearing these opinions come out from the students around me. And I started hearing these opinions being spouted by the professor. And I'm looking around and I'm like, I thought the hippies was over. I thought those guys left. They're still here?
Yeah.
People still think this stuff?
Mm.
And I didn't even know I was you called it conservative, alt-right, right, whatever, Republican. Like, I just thought it was common sense.
It's so funny you say that, Jack, because I had Joe Gale on the air on Monday, and he talked a lot about common sense. When I talked to him about what is his barometer for voting and doing stuff that he does for the county, he said, Barry, so much of it is just common sense, and you're right too. It is common sense. It is,
and Joe was right there. We're actually classmates at Temple, Joe and I.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy, you managed to rub elbows with more people. Let me ask you, how did you get on MSNBC last weekend, and why were you there?
So, MSNBC coming around to Philadelphia starts to put together their program, and they said, they would reach out to the local party, and they say, hey, we're trying to put together this panel of a few undecided people and a few pro-Hillary people, and they're like, gee, I don't know. Are there any pro-Trump people in Pennsylvania? And then the party kind of turned around and said, yeah, we got somebody for you.
And
they called me.
And it was you. Well, how did you feel? Because you were really out. Were there about 10 panelists on that show?
It was 10. Yeah, it was about 10.
All right. How did you feel about that? Because it looked like, MSNBC. You're really in the camp of the Hillaryites and the liberals on that one.
So the way I figure it is, hey, if they want to make it, they want to make it 10-1 and put it on an MSNBC show against me, then hey, it's got to be a fair fight, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it's got to be if you want to go up against me.
Yeah, it was interesting. Now you have the distinction of having been at both conventions, right, Jack?
That's right. I went, and so I've been working with a group. We were affiliated with. We worked with Roger Stone. We worked with a bunch of people. We're a grassroots group. We're called Citizens for Trump, national grassroots group. Working for Trump, and we've got some great connections with Alex Jones, with Roger Stone, people helping us out. Mm-hmm. We're doing a little project right now. We call it Handcuffs for Hillary. We're trying to raise money to buy thousands and thousands of handcuffs for Hillary, and we're going to go deliver them to her on our bus tour.
Wow. Now, From your perspective, now, I mention this because I was watching the conventions, both of them at home. I also had my Facebook page open, and I was following you because, boy, I'll tell you what, the people from Facebook have done an amazing thing with this ability to live stream on Facebook. And I was watching the convention in real time, and I'm watching your feed on Facebook, again, in real time, and they don't match up. Did you realize when you were doing that, what you were showing on Facebook Live was not really what the American people were seeing in the mainstream media?
So yeah, at the when I was at the Democrat convention here in Philadelphia, one of the things that happened was the people asked me, "Hey, how are the speeches? How are the things?" And I said, "No, I'm not watching speeches. I'm here at the protest, and I'm just texting people." And they said, "Protest? What protest?" I'm like, "The protest. There's got to be hundreds of people out here. They got signs. They're chanting. They're very upset about this. The DNC leaks, the leaked emails, the DNC chairwoman, she resigned, and the scandal rigging the election against Bernie for Hillary, and all the money. And these people are texting back. So what are you talking about? We're not seeing it." And I'm saying, well, shoot, I didn't even really know how the Facebook Live thing worked at the time, but I figured it out, and I said, well, I'll show you. I put it on, and all of a sudden it gets shared and shared and shared, and it goes viral. Thousands, tens of thousands of people are watching this, saying, "You're showing us something that all the cameras aren't showing."
No, if I hadn't picked you up on Facebook, I would have no idea those protests were going on. The only one that started to cover it in the peripheral was Fox Business was putting it on. But what we were seeing on your Facebook page, and again, it went viral. It was all over the world, which is amazing in itself. But you're showing some pretty testy protesters that we have no idea watching the mainstream media that it's even happening. And my question to you, Jack, and I know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. What if that shoe had been on the other foot and they had been Trump protesters?
And here's the funny thing: is at the RNC, there was nothing like that. The biggest protest I saw, and I took pictures and I put it up and I did the live streaming every time I saw it. The biggest protest out in Cleveland. 20 people, 30 people, maybe. But every time the media would rush up to them and interview them and take pictures and the center of attention, and the media would outnumber them 3-1, these protesters. It's tiny, minuscule. But then in Philadelphia with the Democrats, it was like, oh, there's no protesters, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I saw a couple of your feeds from Cleveland where there were, like, as you said, 10, 20 protesters, and the media is just, there's a wall of media putting it on live, and when you panned your Facebook feed over to the right, there was a fountain there, and there were kids playing in the fountain. You remember doing that?
Yeah. I do. I was saying, look, I called it my fake protest update. I would walk by, I would make it a point to walk by this one spot right in the center of Cleveland there, Public Square, and I would walk by, and as the protest was going on, I'd see the media, and I knew what they were doing, and I would say, here's the media showing you a fake protest, and here's kids playing in the fountain, and a couple older guys playing ping pong on the table. It's like a beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and it was such a fake when you would watch all the stuff. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is in the Hillary convention. There were a lot of people there, if my information is right, and you were right there, that were paid seat fillers. The Bernie people had all left, and we're seeing this glorious convention on TV with all these people applauding. They were fake people, right? They weren't really delegates.
So, right after Hillary won the nomination, right, half of the delegates in that room walked out. They left. We
never saw that.
You never saw it on TV. But all of a sudden, when old Tricky Willie gets up there, the seats are full.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Where do these people come from? Well, we found out. We talked to folks. They were interns. They were volunteers. They were this and that. And they were all getting put in there. Then the Democrats were taking that if you were a Bernie delegate, you got kicked out. They took your credentials.
Right.
They unverified you. If you were a Bernie volunteer, they kicked you out. They barred you from it, right?
Yeah.
So all these people are gone all of a sudden, and they're like, shoot, well, we've got to fill these crowds. So it's like the Oscars, right? You've got to go and find people. So we found the Craigslist ad, and we've got it up. We've got it on archive.org on the Wayback Machine. They were paying people to go sit in the seats, but then some of the Bernie people were still there, so they put up these noise machines. You couldn't hear them chanting. You couldn't hear the heckles. they had cheerleaders for Hillary, and it was like when the Bernie people start going, then you start chilling Hillary to drown out what was going on, and the banners. Oh my God, there's so many protest banners. The best one, you know those ones you get at the gag ones you get for retirement parties, the Over the Hill?
Right.
There were hundreds of people holding up signs that said Over the Hill. Get it? Like Over the Hill, Hillary?
Right.
But the camera never turned, and the camera never showed it. It's just everything is perfect. Everything is awesome.
Yeah,
do not worry. Do not panic. Everything is well.
Yeah, there was a young girl on who she went viral too from the delegate in Florida. I'm sorry, it was in California, and her feed went. I saw it had like a couple people, then a couple hundred, then a couple thousand. It was like 40,000 people she was live streaming to, and she told the fact that she went back on. I guess it was Thursday. And went to go into the convention. They said your credentials have been restricted. That you can't go in. She said, "What do you mean I can't go in? I'm a delegate." She said,
"Isn't this some stuff? Isn't this some stuff? You remember the Hunger Games? That's the kids, the young adult series, the Katniss and the Jeffrey. Does this remind you? Remember the rich people all live in the main area, and then they've got the giant fencing, and all the poor, the rabble, the peasants are kept outside. And
right.
It's what it felt like. So by the way, the irony, right? Mm-hmm. So you needed a picture ID to get into the Democrat convention. Mm-hmm. All right. And if you didn't have ID, you know what they used to put up? Mm-mm. They put up a 4-mile wall around the Wells Fargo Center to keep out the people they didn't want in.
Right. So
Hillary Clinton built a 4-mile wall in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Isn't that what she's... Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I understand that a convention wants to put its best foot forward. That's their job. I get it. I don't disagree with it. What I have a problem with, Jack, and what I'm throwing out to you now is it's not fair when the media is a participant in what is a staged event, and this was a staged event for the Democrats. And
I agree.
If Trump had done this, holy, Katie barred the door. I mean, the man can't go. But you agree that it was a staged event, and the media was complicit.
Completely staged. And if you look at the DNC emails, it's laid out. It's completely laid out. The Democrat Party, Hillary's party, gives their marching orders to the media, and the media follows forward. It's like the military. It's like a chain of command. It goes from Hillary on down, and that's just the way it works. Politico, CNN, Clinton News Network, it doesn't matter. That's where they get their orders from. And when they don't like something, they tell the media, and the media changes it.
Unfortunately, though, and again, we're talking to Jack Posobiec, who is, fair to say, a political activist, now doing some work for the Trump campaign, and has attended both conventions, and we'll talk a little bit about where you were over the weekend. But again, the problem I have with this is the media is a participant we're not selling soap, we're not selling Coca-Cola, we're not selling Budweiser. We're electing the next president of the United States who's going to have some major effect over all of our lives, our kids' lives, and our grandkids' lives for years to come. And it just seemed like such a rigged game. I get it, you get it, many people in our audience get it. But, Jack, do you think the average person out there has any idea what's going on with this election besides the fact Trump is a racist and Hillary's the most qualified person since God to be on the ticket?
Well, I honestly do think that there's a lot of people that are waking up to this stuff now. And here's the difference, is social media.
Right.
It's the fact that now everybody's got a voice and everyone can find each other. See, I think when they came up with Facebook and Twitter, and those groups are run by Democrats. Everyone knows the whole board, Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, they're all Democrats, every one of them. But they didn't realize the power that would have to connect people who were at live events that could counter the media narrative and actually show people the truth. I've even said, do you remember, you were talking about past elections, do you remember the influence that people always talk about at the 1960 election between radio and TV when it was JFK versus Nixon?
I remember that.
They talked about the tidal wave of change, the seismic shift that television was in politics. We're seeing the same thing right now with social media.
The amazing thing about 60 with Kennedy and Nixon, the people who listened to Nixon on radio thought he won. The people that saw Kennedy on TV thought he won. It changed the whole landscape where we became a visual, not an audio society, and that's the way we elect people. That's the way we elect people today. Now, over the weekend, again, Jack Posobiec's our guest on Comment Please by Univest today. You were in Harrisburg with the Hillary campaign, and you were in Mechanicsburg with the Trump campaign, right?
Yep, right down the street.
Now,
two events right down the street from each other, just a couple different days.
Now, it was reported that the Hillary campaign was paying actors to wear hard hats to be in the audience. Was that ever proven true?
So, I think what we were able to find out was the folks in the hard hats were some guys who were a skeleton crew that had been on duty on that day. Mm-hmm. But the actual crowd, she bussed in herself. She couldn't. Yeah. She brought her own supporters to this event and staged the entire thing. It's like Shakespeare. It's like going down to Forest Theater here. It's show. It's not real. Yeah. And then the funny part is they go up and start making a big deal about how apparently Bill was wearing Bill's khakis. Remember Bill's khakis from Reading? Reading, yeah, the pants. And he goes, oh yeah, made here in Reading. Only problem is Bill's khakis shut down in Reading 6 months ago. Now they're in China. Right, they sold out. 80% got financed in China. So I'm sitting there like, excuse me, this is literally, you're trying to use this as saying, oh, look how good for Pennsylvania we are, when actually you're talking about the exact problem that's going on in Pennsylvania and nationwide. Yeah. Now, again, if that had been a slip-up by Trump, we would have heard about it morning, noon, and night for the next 3 days. But for some reason, the Hillary campaign gets a pass on almost anything. And I should tell folks that might say, well, this sounds a little contrived. On your Facebook page, you showed a picture of all the buses that were used to bus people in. I did. We had somebody outside, and I knew they weren't able to get in. And I said, hey, go across the street and take a picture of all these buses and send it to me. Mm-hmm. And they did. And I said, look, here is the proof. Hillary does not need all this many buses just for herself. I mean, I know that she likes to have things her way, but I don't think exactly that all of her handlers need that many buses to get in. No. And I think in her rally last night, there were only 100 people there. And there were less than 100. And this is after she canceled a rally in Cleveland due to lack of interest. Now, fast forward to actually, real quick. You want to talk gas? At one point, she misspeaks last night, right? And she says, "We will raise taxes on the middle class," and everybody cheers. The whole crowd of people started cheering. And like, where's the recording on that one? Yeah, that blooper would be on a reel going nonstop if it had been on the other side. So, and I'm sure she misspoke, but it was like, wait a minute, what, the crowd's okay with that? Yeah, we shall raise taxes on the middle. Oh boy. So fast forward, you're at the Mechanicsburg Trump rally, and they can't even get all the people in, right? There's more people in the parking lot. There's a line that goes around the building 3 times, right? And I've got to hand it to and Mr. Trump. President Trump reached out to the fire marshal and thanked him. He got 3,500 people inside. There were another 6,000 outside that couldn't make it in. Now, let's just put this in context. Hillary has a rally, has to bus people in, and she can only get 100 at the second rally, 100 people there. Meanwhile, you're talking, 7,000, 8,000 people at a Trump rally. And we're not hearing anything about this in the mainstream media. And you're not going to. You're not going to. They're bought and sold. Their revenue has been down so much because of the Internet over the past couple of years that they've decided they've made their choice, they've made their bed, and they're going to go full Hillary. They're full Hillary. They're the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party, and that's all it is. And the difference now is instead of it being media is impartial and showing you what's going on between left and right, it's now the mainstream media, the dinosaur media, is for Hillary, but social media is telling you the truth. Yeah. Good or bad? Oh yeah, without a doubt. But I just see so much momentum on the Trump side, and I don't see it on the other side. But if I turn on the TV, all I hear is the con story and this story and the Purple Heart story, and it just seems. It harkens back a little bit. I remember Goldwater in '64. I was actually around then, and I remember that they painted him as unstable. I mean, they're doing to Trump just what they did to Goldwater in '64. Can you trust this guy with the nuclear code? And it's like the average person. You remember that despicable ad. I do. The Daisy ad, the most infamous ad of all time, with the little girl and the atomic. I mean, who could believe that ad was made by somebody running for president of the United States?
Yeah, well, I think, and you may agree, Jack, we haven't seen anything yet. We've got 97 days, and the only way, and this is something I have heard on mainstream media, and I believe it, I'll see what you think, the only way that Hillary can win this election is to totally decimate Trump, his character, his purpose, his brains, everything. Everybody is saying, and Obama jumped into the fray yesterday, he's unfit to be president.
I'd love to hear Hillary tell me why she's running for president.
Oh,
has anyone heard that from her? This is just like the next thing on her resume, right? Like she's looking for a promotion.
Well,
what is her message? What is her reason for running?
That is a very good question. I think if she'd have a news conference, maybe someone would ask her. Now you've been.
We're up to 243 days now.
I believe you're right. Now you're out there on the campaign trail. You're fairly close to her. Does the media ever try to ask her a question? Do they follow her around?
No, they are kept at bay. When she's walking around publicly, she has her handler. She has her staffers make sure to keep them at a distance from her so they can't hear what she's saying, so they can't catch her, on a hot mic. They can't see what she's emailing. They won't let her around. They won't let the media there. They're there to report on what they see and hear and nothing else. And what they see and hear is completely controlled, and they're fine with it. It's sheep. It's just sheep.
And on the other side, what's it like when you're out there following the Trump campaign?
Oh, the media is in everybody's face. The media is and what they're doing is they're actively trying to find ways to attack, right? Mm-hmm. So we had a rally on the first day of the convention in Cleveland, and we had a few people who showed up, and they were wearing Muslim attire, right? Mm-hmm. So there was a guy, and he was there with his wife, and they said, well, what? And the media goes up to him and just incredulous, this guy, I don't know where he was from, but he was so angry that a Muslim would show up at a pro-Trump event. How could you be here? Why would you be here? You know what the guy said? He said, I'm here because I love my country, and my country is America, and I want my country to be safe, and I want my family to be safe, and I think that Donald Trump is the guy that's going to do that. This has nothing to do with my religion or my faith. It's about security, it's about economy, it's about safety. Period.
Wow. Well,
and they didn't like that. Oh, they didn't like that one bit.
Yeah. Well, Jack, where do you think we go from here? We got 97 days, and obviously, Donald Trump has had a few missteps of his own. He doesn't seem. The one thing I noticed that they talked about Hillary's campaign. She has 600 staffers, 600, and Trump has 60. So that's 10 times more people. Obviously, he's running his campaign. How does he get to the finish line fighting this mass media hysteria against him?
I think that he does it the same. Look, Donald Trump started his entire campaign with a Twitter account. Mm-hmm. That's all. The millions, hundreds of millions of dollars spent against him by the 17 very, very qualified candidates that he ran against and defeated in the primary. Mm-hmm. Spent hundreds of millions against him. And he beat them with a Twitter account. Hillary currently is spending $500,000 a day in advertising in battleground states. Wow. And if you look at the polls, and I don't mean these fake fluff polls, I mean the actual scientific polls that are out there by reputable sources, mm-hmm. Trump is winning in every single battleground state. And you know how many ads he's done? 0. And the funny thing about that is he's on TV so much mm-hmm. that if you go and ask people, they'll all tell you that they've seen Trump ads on TV.
But there haven't been any.
He doesn't have any. Everyone thinks in their head that they have because he's out there that much.
Yeah.
He knows how to play them at their own game and beat them at their own game. And he knows that there's enough people. Look, everybody knows you're on social media now. Who doesn't have social media? My grandparents have social media. Everybody's got social media.
Right.
Millennials, you think they're on watching TV? They don't even know what TV is.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're not doing it. Trump is going directly to the people, and he's going to continue to do that. He's going to continue to have the massive rallies. Hillary's going to continue to fake her rallies and fake her campaign. And I'm sorry, 40 years ago, Barry Goldwater, maybe you could do that. But today, we know the fix is in, and it's not going to fly. We're smarter than that, and we're better than that. We're not going to choose a candidate that's going to lie to us at every turn.
Yeah. Did you see the Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace? Did you see that interview?
My goodness, she goes, and even after she's been exonerated, she still wants, as Vanessa Sousa mentions in this movie, she never gives up the con. Hillary's America. Yeah. She never gives up the con, never gives up the con. But he's like, but the FBI director said, you sent classified email. I don't, that's not what I heard. I didn't hear him say that. Who are you listening to?
I shook my head. Anyway, Jack, it's always good to talk to you. We got 97 days. Hopefully you'll keep in touch with us because you're out there on the campaign trail with both campaigns, and you see stuff we don't see. Obviously, when you get a rally for one person that's got 100 people and you get a rally for another person that's got 8,000, somebody's got momentum and somebody doesn't. So keep in touch with us, okay, buddy?
You got it, Barry. Having the time of my life out here. We're going to make America great again.
All right, Jack.
Check out handcuffsforhillary.com if you can. We're going to give her some handcuffs.
Say that again, handcuffsforhillary.com?
Handcuffsforhillary.com. You'll see.
And your Facebook page is Jack Posobiec, and I'll spell it as we go through the afternoon. Thanks, Jack.
All right. Talk to you, Barry.
Thanks. Bye-bye. He's Jack Posobiec. Saw him recently on MSNBC. And his Facebook page is amazing. He's out there, and literally in an evening, if he's at a rally, whether it's a Hillary rally or a Trump rally, he may send out 25 messages on Facebook. I don't do Twitter, but and a lot of stuff I saw on Facebook that he was right there. I mean, he was there at both conventions. A lot of stuff I saw I did not see on mainstream TV, which I think is that's the power of social media, and it is going to have an effect on this election. Anyway, we're really rolling along here. 12:48 is our time. This is Comment Please by Univest. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Celebrating a half a century of service to Montgomery and Bucks counties. AM 1440.
WNPV1440.com.
AM 1440, we are WNPV. This is Comment Please by Univest. What a day, huh? On your Wednesday, hump day right in the middle. Darryl will be back tomorrow. Barry Papiernik sitting in today. Good to be with you. I wanted to just, touch on this subject here because I heard something on the TV this morning that really kind of, it was not quite fair. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Commentator on TV said the words, and I'm almost quoting word for word because it stuck out. They said, Donald Trump avoided service in Vietnam by getting draft deferments. Now, I was, in 1967, I was 18 years old. I had just graduated from college. And for people who don't know, and there's probably a ton of people that don't know how the system worked back then, when you turned 18 years old, you needed to register for the draft. And what that meant is that every little town, municipality, or whatever, had a draft board. They had an office. And this is obviously way before computers and internet and all that stuff. So you would have to go there and fill out an application. You would have to register for the draft when you were 18 years old. And then after you were registered, the draft board would classify you. And there were a myriad of classifications. And the worst one if you wanted to go in the service or didn't want to go in the service was 1A. If you were 1A, well, you were ready to go. But there were deferments for physical conditions, mental conditions, home conditions, and there was a deferment if you went to college. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, fair or unfair, but there was a deferment there. And what you would do is after you would register for the draft, you would go to the college board and give them proof that you were in school. I am going to college. And they gave you a deferment. Yeah, that's what you got. And then after you finished that year of school, you would go back again and you would get another deferment for the second year, and third year for the third, and fourth for the fourth. That's how you got you would get 4 deferments if you went to college. You weren't out there finding things under a rock. It was perfectly legal to do. When you were done college, you needed to either find another deferment or then they would schedule you for your physical, and that was always fun, I can tell you that. And I remember I had a deferment when I was in school and then had the physical and ended up enlisting, but I went in the Army in 1969. It was an interesting time, but people got deferments. The way they talk about it in the media now, it's like something that you went down to an alley somewhere and you talked to Vito and you bought a deferment. Everybody who had a legitimate reason could get a deferment. And the other thing that they mention is just because back then you were in the military did not mean you were going to Vietnam. There were hundreds and thousands of people back then who were in the military that never went to I was in the military then. I never went to Vietnam. So to say that Trump evaded Vietnam service because he got deferments, all he did was go to college. Anybody who went to college got a deferment. It wasn't like some weird and nasty thing. So I just mentioned that in passing. Oh, boy, 12:55, that's our time. Take a break, come back and wrap things up here on your Wednesday on Comment Please by Univest.